Good evening, I'm Jeff Lyons. It is Sunday night here, 9 o'clock, August the 24th, time for the First Alert Weather Show at 9 o'clock. We stream every night at 9 o'clock just for you. It's only weather here, and you get to ask your questions if you have any, or make your comments or your weather reports on the 14 News Facebook page, so you can monitor that, and I'll check in with you here once we get down the line just a little bit. Really fine weather today. I think everybody agrees we were ready for this and ready for a big dose of it too. Cool and dry conditions out there and sunshine. What's next is we have a chilly morning on the way. Temperatures actually dipping into the 50s tonight. That'll be the coolest that we've had here in this run of milder nights, and also some of the coolest air we felt since late last spring. It also is more typical of maybe early October as opposed to late August. So we're way below normal. There will be a gradual warm up as we move through the week and the winds shift around to the south. Dew points are in the lower 50s tonight, and that is a big turnabout from last week. Early in the week we had dew points at 73. So once you get down below 50, then it becomes possible to really chill out at night, especially under a clear sky, and really seal in that pleasant weather. And that's exactly what's going to happen. It looks like Wednesday will be our coldest or coolest morning, 51. I don't think your furnace will kick on, but at least you're going to get to give the air conditioning a break. As you can't keep your house. I mean, you can get your house down to 72 or 70, but if you just open the windows and let some of this air in, you'll have that easily and for free. Later in the week and in the weekend, we get those temps back up into the mid 80s, but at least right now, it's not looking like we'll have a lot of humidity to go with it. So, even 84 during the day, if we can drop down into the low 60s or upper 50s at night, you can still cool your house down pretty well. No rain coming up over the next 7 days. And the other thing is that this cool air is a pretty large mass right now across the Great Lakes. You see Fargo at 55 now, Des Moines at 65. All that cool air will continue to just kind of settle in over the next few days. Our only hot spots, kind of our two oldie but goodies out here, we have Vegas at 99 and Phoenix at 103. That's desert heat though, so still very dry. And they drop down into the 60s at night because of the dryness out there. Really a pleasant night wherever you want to look. The green here indicating temperatures in the low 60s and upper 50s. And across the tri-state, we already have Fairfield at 60 degrees. So not long here, it'll drop down into the 50s there across southern Illinois. Mount Carmel's at 62. We still have some 70s out there, 70 at Owensboro, but that'll give way to these cool temps pretty soon. We hit 81 for the high today. That's about 6 degrees cooler than normal. And our low actually about normal for this time of the year. Our colorful calendar here is going to pick up some yellow days maybe where we have highs in the 70s, but for now we're still in that lower 80 degree trend, and that of course is favorable for really nice conditions out there. I am getting a little concerned about the dryness, however, as that dew point comes down and we have drier air everywhere. That's going to dry out the foliage, grass and things like that. We may start to see some fires, and the wildfire risk may kick up, grass fires and things like that. So do be careful with fire out there, grills and stuff like that. The trend here, at least for the last 4 months, has been for very wet weather and humid too through July. But you'll notice August now we're below the bar here, the normal bar. Last time we had a drier than normal month was in March. So, we're about due. I mean, they can't all be above normal. I guess they could, but typically you're going to have a couple that are cooler than normal too. Looks like tomorrow we will keep that temperature in the middle 70s, and the lower 48 here, very quiet weather pattern. We have a few areas of rain. Some monsoonal rain here, the change in wind direction off the South Pacific here and the Baja bringing some moisture up into the southwest. And then our cold front that delivered the cool air today had enough moisture to work with. It did kick up a few showers and thunderstorms there along the east, but it has not really been particularly stormy or active anywhere. We do have a new tropical system out here. This is Fernand, way out to the east of Bermuda. This is not going to pose any threat to the U.S. Land there, and will likely become extratropical and weaken as it moves up here toward Newfoundland and then on into the North Atlantic. So that's probably the best scenario. There is another area we're watching right now, and of course the Caribbean tends to be a hot spot for hurricane and tropical storm activity this time of the year. We're getting to the peak of hurricane season, usually that first week or two of September, and you'll note that we have an area here that's being monitored. That's about a 30% chance of seeing some sort of tropical development in the next 7 days. So we will definitely be watching that for you. As far as the severe weather risk is concerned, there's none for the tri-state. Some active weather out over the southern Rockies there, but that's all going to stay away as we have high pressure building in over the tri-state, and that will just keep us pretty much in a groove. You know, this is a persistently nice weather pattern. High pressure will continue to sink down and then kind of stagnate here over the tri-state, and that will deliver many nice days in a row. Later in the week, we may see a few more clouds, the European kind of hinting at that, but no real significant rain chance lighting up any of the models right now through the weekend and into next week. We drop down to 55 degrees tonight. It'll be clear again, and then tomorrow up to 77, sunny, real nice outside again with winds out of the north. The 7-day forecast is dry and cool. However, we start to warm up a bit heading into the weekend, middle 80s and lows in the lower 50s, getting up to around 60 degrees. The longer range here, at least through the 3rd of September, so next weekend, showing cooler than normal temperatures across the eastern half of the country and drier than normal through the Great Lakes and the tri-state as well. I'm going to do a repeat here. I showed this pet pic on Friday night, but by way of promoting, put it yourself in the picture too. We like to see who the pet owners are, pet parents are. So this happens to be Carol Mills and her buddy Jake there, but we'd like to see you. So you can put these on 14news.com where it says submit photos, and we'll get your face up here too. We'll start having parent pics up here, pet pics and parent pics. How about that? All right, we have a few questions and comments here. Laura Gray was watching, I think you were the first one on here tonight, Laura, tuned in here to the evening, the 9 o'clock weather show. Cheyenne Hammond says, good evening. J.T. Payne should compare the weather this week to last year at this time, since we were in a heat wave this last year at this time. I know, you know, August is usually really one of those months that you just slog through. It's hot, humid, and I always like to think of it, summer's kind of worn out by this point. You know, everything starting to look a little brown, and people are sick of the heat. And, you know, fall is just around the corner. It's kind of like late February would be in the winter. You know, everything's kind of gray and muddy and gross, and you just want to start seeing the trees bud again. So we're at that stage of summer. Summer's a little worn out. Jeff Miller has 60 out in Savaw. Thank you, Jeff, for that report. Paula Schaefer says, good evening. J.T. Payne, could some areas get into the 40s? If they do, JT, it would probably be southern Illinois, you know, way out in the open areas there in the prairie. And 49 maybe, that's certainly within the realm. I mean, we're forecasting a low of 51, but that's for here in the Evansville area where you have a little more, you know, city around us to keep the heat up. Trenton Finkston, I had a weather question. Can I talk or explain how hurricanes react to ongoing storm systems on land? Well, sure, we can do that. In fact, we can just go back here. Let's see. I'll go back to the actual tropical system that we have going for Fernand. And actually, we saw a little bit of this last week when Aaron was coming up the east coast but stayed away. And one of the reasons for that was we had high pressure and a cold front were kind of lined up at that time along the coast. And so, yes, it kind of nudged the whole mess to the east there. There we one more. There we go. So if you look at the picture here, there are two things at play. at least that primarily steer a hurricane. Number one is, of course, the overall pattern that you're alluding to. So if you have high pressure over here, something blocking out the hurricane or the tropical system, yes, it'll force it out that way. The other has to do more with where the hurricane is traveling with regard to the ocean. Warmer water, the Gulf Stream, etc., can also kind of serve as a channel. But what we often will see is when a hurricane or tropical system comes up here toward the U.S., if there's nothing going on, no high pressure, no blocking system, we would see landfall. And oftentimes a hurricane or tropical system will turn a little bit as it gets in closer to shore. It seems like the outer banks here get hit a lot. It kind of sticks out, and the natural progression for storms is to go up and along this coast. Has to do with the wind flow and the warmer water there in the Gulf Stream. But yeah, there can definitely be an interaction, and oftentimes it's in our favor because we have high pressure that fends the hurricane away. In other occasions, we've had systems where, let's say we get a hurricane in the Gulf and we have high pressure or a storm system up here, let's say, and it cranks it in. It sucks it up off the Gulf and into the tri-state. So it can work both ways, but generally speaking, if we have a blocking system over the United States, it will kind of send the hurricane or tropical system away from us. I hope that answered your question. We'll see here if it did. Let's see. And Jeanette Rice commenting, it's beautiful out. Well, it is. We should have done the weather show outside tonight. I need to get them build me a weather deck out there. Maybe we'll get that in this merge with the other station. All right, let's see here. I have a short science corner for you tonight. This actually has to do more with cloud formations. And, we're getting to that time of the year now. We will start to see colder air aloft, a few more cirrus clouds perhaps, and contrails and things in the sky to look at. One thing that occasionally happens is that we will get a deck of altocumulus or altostratus clouds like these. And these are made out of ice crystals, right? Supercooled water ice crystals. And this picture is old. Jessica Bluss sent it to me a couple of years ago from down near Calhoun. And she looked out one morning. Many people actually sent similar pictures. Looked out and there was this, cloud bank, but there was like a gouge in it, like something had just gone along and plowed through. And she asked me how that was possible. And Bruce Mason of Livermore got another picture of it too. Same thing. And, understandably, they're like, hey, what's going on here? Well, what's going on here is we have what we call a fall streak cloud. So stay with me here a minute. This will all make sense. So the deck of altocumulus that I just showed you is made of ice crystals, but it's thin. And if there's no, wind blowing up there, they just kind of hang out up there. It's an area where you've had just enough condensation to cause the water to cool, condense, and then it freezes. And so when that happens, if you were to disrupt it in some way, and really about the only way you could do that would be with a rocket or an airplane going through it. And in this case, if an airplane goes through, the airflow around the wings of the airplane and also the heat from the engines will cause a localized expansion of air. Remember, warm air expands, right? Takes up more space or more volume than cool air. And so when that happens, the ice crystals that I just told you about rapidly expand and they fall out. They basically melt and they lose their buoyancy and they fall out. And so you get this fall streak cloud like I just showed you, and they're quite interesting. There's another called a hole punch cloud, and that one, it looks more like just a hole in the cloud. And same thing, that would be where the plane went like this. That one, the plane was probably at altitude or moving along in conjunction with the clouds up there. So we do have an impact on the weather. It's not nefarious, not anything bad about it. It's just if we disrupt what's up there, sometimes you will get an effect that we can all see down here on the ground. All right, And then William Raleigh said, I heard something about black rain that was caused by a fire in Louisiana. How does that happen? And that's interesting too. I don't have that graphic loaded up. I wish I could be Johnny on the spot here. I can't get to it easily, but I'll say this. The black rain is a thing, and basically what you have, you had smoke in the air, right? And as the rain came through, it picked up the smoke and brought it to the ground, and so it discolored the rain. Sometimes we've had dirty rain here in the tri-state. A notable time I can remember was right after or the night of the December 10th tornado. And because that tornado had sucked a bunch of dust up into the atmosphere, when it rained then subsequently, the dust that was aloft was washed out, and everybody had dirty windshields and dirty cars. Sometimes we see that with wildfires out west, dust storms, volcanoes can do the same thing. Anything that puts particulate or particles in the atmosphere, those have to come out at some point, and oftentimes they are rained out. And that's why you would get a black rain if you had smoke like that, or it could be a different color, it could be brown or even reddish depending on the soil type and what the particles look like that were in the air. Yeah. And the other extension of that, and this has more to do with pollution, is acid rain. And when we burn coal in particular, and now this, while this is not as much as it used to be, because the people who burn coal now, there are a lot of regulations. You have to scrub the stuff that goes out of the smokestack. And so they use limestone and some other things to extract the carbon dioxide and also all the heavy particulates. There's mercury and soot, all that stuff that's in there. Well, anyhow, and sulfuric acid, the combination of what is burning in the coal that gets into the atmosphere then reacts with water, and you would get an acidic rain that comes down. Now, this isn't going to burn your eyes or do that, but over time, acid rain can discolor your car and make things like that, and that's caused by the same process where you have a pollutant in the air, the water comes through, and it falls out. So acid rain is really more of an issue for plant life. I mean, you don't want to have acid rain, obviously, if you can help it, but improvements in how coal is being burned have pulled that back. It's still acidic. But man, if you were around in the 70s or 60s when they were still burning everything, you'd drive into a town, there'd be smokestacks and everything. All that stuff would be washed out, and the rain would be acidic and dirty. So we have actually much, much cleaner air today than we did, say, definitely than we did 50 years ago or 60 years ago, when a lot of people were still burning coal and cars had leaded gasoline and weren't, really no catalytic converters or things like that. And that's when the EPA came into being in, I think in 1970 or 72. The two things they focused on, or two of the things they focused on, were cleaner water and cleaner air. And we've benefited greatly from both of those things. And I know a lot of people hate, the regulation, and companies, businesses, they don't want those regulations. But it's for the greater good, because it has limited pollution to a huge extent in the air and also in the water. If you want something really to make you think, go on YouTube and look up the Cuyahoga River, which was in Cleveland. It caught on fire. That's how polluted it was back in it used to be factories would just pour stuff right into the river. Here too. And our river never caught on fire, but the Cuyahoga did. And that was one of the triggering events that pushed, everybody, regardless of political stripes, said, hey, we got to clean this up. And so the EPA was born. Under Nixon, actually. So it's been a while back. But anyway, that's what they do, and that's why it's important. And that's how we have benefited. I appreciate your questions tonight. Let's see. We're still batting a weird lineup around here. Arden Gregory's going to be in tomorrow morning. Byron's still, I think he's still up in Valpo celebrating his mom's 85th birthday. Mrs. Douglas turned 85, so you got to be around for that. And Michael will be back, I think, later this week. We haven't gotten a postcard from him, but we're hoping to see him later in the week. So you have Arden in the morning. You'll see me tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow night here on the Stream Show. And of course, I'll be with you tonight on 14 News at 10 o'clock. You all have a great night. Thanks for watching and stay safe.